Hello, my name is Grant Scott and I'm the author of Professional Photography, The New Global Landscape Explained, published by Focal Press. Welcome to our series of podcasts which accompany the book. Well, today we're joined by Jim Stephenson, who is an architectural photographer based in the UK, who over the past few years has created Miniclicks, which started off as a series of talks and has grown into a series of events and also a print publication. Jim is very much part of the new community, and it's great that he can join us. So welcome, Jim.
Hi, Grant. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. As I was just saying, you know, what started out from your architectural practice as a photographer, which you still continue, you decided to create these events. Can you just give us a little bit of an idea as to how that began and why you did it?
Yeah, we started the Miniclick, or I started the Miniclick photography talks just about in 2010, September 2010. And we did them so that people could meet and talk about things. There was a lot of stuff going online, and you could read a lot of interviews, and you could look at a lot of great pictures, but you couldn't get any stories behind the pictures. I don't think the internet always lends itself brilliantly to that, to getting stories behind images. So we set up the talk so that people could come and see the photographer talk, learn about how they were working, and then get together and discuss it between themselves afterwards as well.
And you started on a very local basis with the photographic community in Brighton on the south coast of England, but it's rapidly grown, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're quite lucky that Brighton's got such a strong community in the photography world anyway, and quite a lot of very good photographers, so we had a captive audience for us from the start. But yeah, we've realised actually really quickly they grew, and we started getting people coming down from different parts of the country to come and see them, and then we start getting invites from different organisations from elsewhere in England to go and do talks at their locations instead. So yeah, it's grown quite quickly. We've been quite happy with that.
And one of the key factors, I think, is that you put on all of the events for free. You don't charge people to attend.
Yeah, that's really important. We're not just doing. We always say they're not photography talks. They're free photography talks. They have to be as accessible as possible, and not just in terms of the fact that they're free and anyone can come along, but also in the content that we discuss. We don't talk about the technical aspects, and we don't theorize too much. We're mainly talking about stories and ideas, so anyone can come along and anyone can take something away from them.
And what's the relationship with Miniclicks, with the online to the offline? How do you use online? Well, it's becoming a kind of a brand now, isn't it?
I suppose so. I'm really reluctant to use that word brand, but I suppose photographers are having to adjust to that. That we couldn't do it without an online presence, because in fact it baffles me how we used to do things before we were online, how quickly I've forgotten how to do that. We used Twitter and Facebook and email newsletters to get word out about an upcoming event, and without that I don't know how we would promote them. So it's really useful to us, or it's essential actually. But it's not just about getting word out there, it's about continuing discussions as well. So we're having a talk. If Mark Power does a talk for us, then the next couple of weeks on the Facebook group, people might be talking about the ideas that he spoke about, or other photographers that he mentioned, and a discussion will be ongoing. So it kind of facilitates that nicely.
So it's very much an interconnected relationship between the idea of digital platforms and what would, I suppose, be perceived as the traditional photography talk, which could go back to the beginning of time of the history of photography.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It has to be. It has to be. There can't be a tense relationship between the two things. They have to both be given as much care and attention as each other, really. I hope that we've got it right and they work quite well together.
Well, there's certainly a very warm feeling towards what you do within the photographic community, but perhaps you could also give people an idea who may be listening to this and who like the idea, but the first thought they're going to have is, I'm not going to be able to fund that. How does Jim fund these things and put them on? Can you give us a little insight into that?
You could talk to my accountant. I fund it myself. It's remarkable that what we do doesn't exist everywhere. And I'm sure in a lot of towns it does. I just haven't heard about it. But we fund it ourselves. We found a really great venue who were willing to give us the space for free. It's a venue called the Old Market, which is a theatre space, but they give us the bar area for free, so we can get about 100 people in there. And obviously it's beneficial for them because that's 100 people drinking in their bar. And before that, we just used a cafe. So we just used whatever space we could find. I mean, if we couldn't have got that, we would have done them in a car park. We would have just found a space to do them. And I think that's what people assume would be the major cost, finding an area to work within. But, we've got living rooms. We can do them anywhere. Like, you don't need to spend loads of money on that. It's all about the content. So we're very grateful that most of the photographers we have approached have been happy to do it for free. Excuse me, because they know that we're not getting anything out of it. No one's getting rich off this. So the photographers do it for free. The venue gives us it for free, and then the only cost beyond that is a couple of pints on the night.
So it's a social thing. It's a networking thing. I know it's not a cold educational thing, but you are bringing work and photographers to notice that perhaps a lot of other people may not have heard of.
I hope so, yeah. I think photography is a funny old community, isn't it? I think generally photographers are really nice to each other, and good people, but perhaps we don't look at other photographers' work enough, or outside of the realm that we're most interested in. So, I mean, I'm very much into architecture photography and still life photography and photographing inanimate objects, basically. I'm very interested in that. I'm less so interested in, say, documentary photography, but we do a lot of talks with documentary photographers, and I get something out of it every time. Again, it comes back to its ideas. So we're hopefully, if you're not really into a particular photographer's work, you can come along anyway and learn something from them and take something away, and then perhaps be inspired by them in a different way that you didn't expect. So we're helping to bring photographers' stories to an audience that might not have otherwise have seen them,
and also helping a lot of young photographers.
Yeah, we try, and because we're free, this is the good thing about doing free talks, we have no responsibilities, so we don't have to have a big name every month to sell tickets on. So we can do, we can have these big photographers that we do have, but we can also do an event with the students from Brighton University who will, in the next few years, become big names, but at the moment no one knows who they are, so they can come and share a stage with, established names and discuss their work.
I think it's also very interesting. You've been very creative with the kind of events you put on, because as well as having your monthly talks, which take place on a Tuesday evening, you've got involved with festivals, you've put on workshops, which you've also, although you have to pay for the workshops, you've kept the fees very, very low and very accessible to people. But you've also been creative with doing all sorts of different kinds of events. Maybe you could tell us about some of those.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I was just saying, really, because the talks are free and we don't have to make money out of them. We can be creative, and we're not responsible. We can do whatever we like, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So we do things like the Pecha Kucha nights we do are always really popular.
What is Pecha Kucha? Could you just explain that?
Pecha Kucha was invented in Japan as a way of discussing ideas in a succinct way. So the presenter gets 20 slides and 20 seconds on each slide. And they have no control over that. It just advances automatically. So it means you have 6 minutes and 40 seconds to talk about your story or your idea. And the slides just keep rolling on. So it becomes slightly informal. I always sort of think of them as trailers for films. You get a taster of someone's work and it encourages you to go and look into it more. But the benefit of them, apart from you get these quick-fire talks, is that you can have 15 people in one night talking. So we've done some of our Pecha Kucha nights have been some of our most fun nights, because you get you just get bombarded with ideas, and you go away, and for the next couple of weeks they just keep popping up in your head, and you go online and you look into them a bit more after that.
So Jim, obviously, Miniclick has become a little bit of an institution within a very short space of time within the UK, and then you decided to move that into online print with a publication. What was the reasoning behind that?
I suppose I don't know if we had a reason. We just wanted to do it. We just thought it'd be nice to put something in print and something that we could keep hold of. That, you know, just it wasn't disappearing into the ether after a couple of weeks. But I suppose if we were looking back and we were justifying it, what it helps do is it helps helps a wider audience look at what we're doing. So we can, with the publication, you know, we get a lot of orders from all over the world from people who can't come to our talks, but can still be involved in what we do.
And each publication is created as a one-off artifact. You put a huge amount of effort and time into the way in which it's designed and the concept behind it.
Yeah, I mean, we work with the right people. I think that's the main thing if you're looking at setting things like this up, is you have to make sure you work with the right people. So our designer, Emily from Stanley James Press, is an outstanding designer. And she works with us, and I mean, actually, we're quite happy just to leave it to her now. But she designs it beautifully, and that's really important to us. And we spent ages talking about paper stock and things like that. And then we get we have different editors each time we put an issue out, and we talk about what photographers we're going to use. Each issue's theme. So we've done one on portraiture that we've just released now. Yeah, we just make sure we're working with the right people who have similar ideas to us, and that means that the output can only be good, hopefully.
The one thing you keep coming back to is this discussion about community and kind of reaching out and working with people, which is something in the past that photographers were not perhaps that good at doing.
Yeah, I think so. It's odd, isn't it? I always think of photography being a more social thing before the age of the internet and before digital, because you would go to labs and you would meet other photographers there while you were developing your work. And now we're sort of stuck behind screens. But maybe the reason why these communities are coming to the front is that we're reacting to that, and we're needing some sort of human touch a little bit.
So one of the things that, you know, the book deals with is this concept of the new landscape, that actually there's fantastic opportunity out there now, but we have to adapt as photographers our way of addressing that and our everyday practice. So you've obviously done that with Miniclicks. How has that informed your photographic work? Because obviously you are still a successful architectural photographer.
Oh, it's changed it so much. It's just having the privilege of being able to hear these photographers talk from all different areas of photography, and then talk to them afterwards about it. Without, you know, it's not about you know, one defining moment of inspiration from each photographer. It's just slowly, by osmosis, learning from these people, and it just slowly sinks in without realizing it. And then you realize that when I'm out photographing buildings, I'm reacting to the people around the building in a different way, because I've seen great people like Matt Stewart and Peter Dench talk about how they photograph people, because their work is much more related to that. It just, I think every photographer we've ever had, I've learned something from, and just by slowly sinking into my head different ways of working.
So that's how it's informed your creative practice. But how has it informed the way in which you deal with potential clients, and has it also brought new clients to you?
I don't know if I've got any work out of it. I don't know if I've got any new clients out of it. Maybe I have, maybe I don't know, actually, because our talks do tend to be attended by people who aren't just photographers.
Miniclicks is almost like a kind of a business. I mean, it's a cooperative. But, you know, you're going out there, you're putting on events, you're being noticed, you're being asked to contribute to things, you're producing a publication. I'm just interested to see how that has then affected the way in which you work with your clients, or how you market yourself to your clients, and as part of that kind of bigger profile and understanding of how the industry works.
I try to keep the two things separately, but I think it's just dealing with people, isn't it? We talk about clients as if they're aliens, but they're just people. So it's just, you know, putting on the talks, I'm dealing with all different types of people, and it just changes it just informs the way you deal with different kinds of people who might be paying you to do a job. I don't think there's a big difference, really. This is perhaps an issue with photography, that we forget that the people paying us are just other people who are interested in things and excited about things and might be interested in photography. So they might come to the talks, and I can talk to them. If I go and do a portfolio showing and we end up talking about a different photographer, or we end up talking about photography in a wider sense than just my work, I can tell them about the talks and invite them along, and just to demonstrate that I have passion for it rather than just doing it as a job, I suppose. I suppose that's kind of a useful thing to be able to demonstrate. That didn't really answer your question, did it?
Well, no, it does, because I think what it does do is, you're using words like passion for what you're doing, and I think the new landscape demands that passion of photographers, and particularly that idea of getting up and creating things, personal work, things like Miniclick, being creative and thinking a little bit outside the specific templates that photographers used to be able to work within.
Isn't it? It's born out of excitement. It's all that passion comes from just being excited. You talk about the new landscape, and I can't imagine photography's ever been as exciting as this since the camera was invented. We've got so much open to us and so much accessible to us now that we can use. Instead of being fearful of it, like, get out there and use it, and use the internet, and use like shoot films on your digital camera, because you can now. Why wouldn't you? I mean, I suppose there's two schools of thoughts. You either think, like, we don't have a choice, we have to adapt to this, we have to start using the internet and start making it work for us. So there's the kind of reluctant user, or there's the person who I think I'm probably in this camp, who's just genuinely really excited about all the different things we can do and how we can communicate with people in different ways. I think that's interesting, and it's all passion that comes from an excitement for it, an enthusiasm,
which is obviously a passion which you can share not only on online but also in person.
That's how it comes across best. I think if you're standing in front of someone telling them how passionate you are about something, they see it in your language and the fact that you're waving your arms around and you look excited. Whereas online, everything tends to be a little bit more somber because it's a different way of communicating.
We felt your passion, and I think you've given some really great advice and inspiration to people. If anybody listening to this podcast wants to find out more about Miniclick talks, Miniclick events, and obviously the Miniclick publication, where can they go to find out about that?
You can go to our website, which is miniclick.co.uk, or you can follow us on Twitter, which we're at Miniclick Talks. And you can find us on Facebook if you search for the Miniclick Photography Talks on Facebook, and come to the talks if you can make it. Come along and say hello, and we'll have a chat there as well.
That was great. Thank you so much for your time, and good luck with everything that Miniclick does in the future.
Oh, thank you, Grant. Nice to speak to you.
And you. Take care. Cheers.